AP English Language is going to start. So this is the one that most of you who are juniors are taking traditionally in this country. That's, when people take this exam. A lot of people take Lang before Lit. Some people take it at the same time. So Lang tends to come first. And you're going to take a multiple choice section. It's going to be 1 hour long, 45% of your score. Now there's a new type of writing question that appears on the exams. We, in separate workshops, Marco, we're going to go through that. We've got sample tests. In fact, this is something I should point out. We have a free practice test on our website for both of these subjects with answers and explanations. And I'm going to post that link in the handouts right now. That link is there for you. So just go to our website at marcolearning.com. You can download this. You don't have to take it now. It's a little early in the year, but if you haven't taken a full-length test, it's a good thing to do in the fall. Kind of just see where you are. You'll see samples of all those multiple choice questions. So Lang starts with multiple choice for an hour, and then it's 2 hours and 15 minutes for 3 free response essays. You're going to get 15 minutes of reading time, and then you're going to get a 40-minute synthesis essay, which I'll explain in a minute. You're going to get a 40-minute rhetorical analysis essay. That was the one they left on the shortened exam from this past year. And then a 40-minute argument essay. So the way that the first question works on synthesis, this is one of the most intricate essays you're going to be up against because you're reading 6 to 7 sources. So AP English Language, which we know as of now, by the way, the College Board has said that the 2021 AP exams will be the full 3-hour exam. So until we hear otherwise at Marco Learning, we're going to keep working on this assumption that the exam is the normal, usual exam. So Sean, in some respects, it is kind of like a DBQ, a document-based question from AP US History. So one of the great questions I have in the Q&A tab is like, how similar is like AP English to AP History? The synthesis essay has some similarities. Now it's different because you don't have to use all 6 or 7 sources, and the sources are much longer. It's also different because on the synthesis essay, they want you to read all this stuff. It's a lot in 15 minutes, and then use that kind of as a springboard into a conversation about a topic, about environmentalism, or they did one actually on monuments and public parks and things. So it's a sort of a current events topic. Remember, this is AP English Language, so it's not going to be fiction. They might have a cartoon or a graph. They'll have some sources. And this is one of the skills we're going to be kind of featuring in this course and through the year is the synthesis essay. It's long, it's complicated, but students tend to improve well on it overall. The rhetorical analysis essay is pure AP English Language. You get a passage, maybe it's 80 lines long, it's a speech, it's a letter, it's something like that. And like a eulogy, a speech in front of a convention, a commencement address. And then you have to write your response to explain how the author uses, or explain the author's rhetorical choices. We're going to talk about all these terms and categories as we go through. The final AP English Language essay is the kind of open-ended one. It's the argument essay. You get a short prompt. There's nothing to read, and you're going to take a position on a topic. And we say that the topics are broad and abstract. These are more open-ended things. I think, was it 2019 that the exam was about overrated, about things that are overrated and the significance of that in contemporary culture. You can draw from outside experiences. We're going to talk about some strategies for how to come up with good outside experiences and work on these. So that's AP English Language in a nutshell. You're going to get 3 essays in 2 hours. We will feature each of these at various points through the workshop. If you are a lit student, definitely stick around for this Lang discussion as well. Because remember, like I said, the rubrics across all of these have 1 point for thesis, 4 points for evidence commentary, 1 point for sophistication. You can use AP Lang resources or AP Lit resources to get better at writing overall, better at the exams, better at kind of playing the game on the AP English exams. So yeah, and the analogy, Anna, there to an LEQ, a long essay question, is kind of more open-ended. They give you a prompt, you have to take it and run with it. AP English Lit, also, you'll notice, now we're switching gears, is 45% of your total score. It's 1 hour. It's going to give you, they're going to give you 5 passages, a couple poems, a couple of short fictions, and 1 piece of maybe a play or some excerpt from a longer work. And the poems, sometimes, over the years, my students have done worse on poems than they have on the short fiction. And that's something that you want to pay attention to, is your own relationship with poetry. We did just released on our YouTube channel that new playlist on the poetry question. So I spend an hour walking through the entire process. Encourage you to check that out. That's a good introduction if you really want to get into that stuff before our next session next week. So AP English Lit has no reading period of 15 minutes, but 3 essays in a row. And they're a little bit more straightforward, I think. So I'll just kind of quickly go through them. The poetry analysis essay gives you a poem. You got to analyze it. Just like question 2 of AP Lang, here's a passage, analyze it. That's what question 1 is, except you're analyzing a poem. And again, this freaks people out. It shouldn't freak you out. Poetry is beautiful. The poems they give you are within reach. You can do it. And we're going to show you some ways to do it. Second question is the prose fiction analysis. This is like question 2 of the AP Lang exam, except it's from prose. It's from a novel or short story. This past year, this was the only question on the exam. It was 45 minutes to write question 2. And I think the College Board had about 25 different prompts. So stuff from George Eliot in the 19th century to more recent writing. And then the final one is a literary argument essay. You got to pick a novel or play, a long work, and run with it. The theme of transformation, the theme of someone's origins, the tension between men and women, whatever the theme is, it's worked out through one novel that you're going to deep dive into. I remember the novel I wrote on when I took the AP Lit exam in 2001. It was Toni Morrison's Beloved, one of the most powerful books I've ever read in my life. I still think, every time I pass through trees, I still think of Denver's Emerald Closet out in the woods. It's one of those books that just leaves its mark on people. And so I went in, I prepared very carefully a couple of different texts. And so I wrote an essay on that, and that was something I was really proud of. So let's talk for a minute about the rubrics for these exams. We have released our own checkbox version of this, which is just simplified. And here I take in from the AP English Lang, the question 2 rubric. And I'm going to, in fact, in the handouts, I can share that link as well. That's in the handouts tab. You should hopefully have that link. And so the way to break this down, guys, don't let this intimidate you. This looks a little scary. It's actually really straightforward. The first point and the most important point that you can earn on this exam, on every single question, is the thesis point. You have to earn the thesis point to do really well on your essays overall. Essays are graded on a scale of 0 to 6. And so thesis is 1 point, just like the other ones, but it's kind of the gateway point for all the other points that you're going to get. So the way it works is you have to have a defensible thesis which examines the writer's rhetorical choices. The prompt says, examine the writer's rhetorical choices. You have to do that, and it has to be defensible. Remember when I said earlier, guys, that great writing is about great ideas. It contains within it great ideas. This is something that the AP people believe, that great writing has to have a great idea. They're not going to give you a thesis point if your claim is a bad idea. So if you took Marilyn Robinson's quote and you just mutilated it and misunderstood it, and then you made a claim about what she's doing in the passage, you're not going to get the thesis point. So because great writing has to have a great idea. Great writing doesn't torture people by just restating the prompt over and over again or going off topic. Great writing is on topic. If it's a speech to an audience, I mean, here's another thing to think about. Great writing is very obsessively focused on the audience that's reading or listening to that speech or whatever engagement is going on. Great writing cares about who the audience is. You have to care about who your audience is. It's poor English teachers and professors struggling through thousands of bad essays, and you need to make it clear that you're in that right frame of mind. We're going to show you. In fact, next week, our session is all about this point. Writing great thesis statements on Lang and Lit and in your classes. And I'll tell you right now, this is the biggest challenge I face as a writer, or the most important piece for all my professors in college and graduate school. Do I have a clear thesis that is really on topic? So you write your thesis. Normally you put that at the end of the first paragraph, 1 or 2 sentences, really get the job done, show the reader you understand what the question's asking, and offer your response. Then there's evidence and commentary. You can't just assert a thesis and walk away. You got to actually back up your claims. Great writing, when it's trying to be persuasive, has great evidence, great reasons, and great development of that evidence. Great writing does not quote people at length. So I shared with you some of my commonplace book quotes. Those are way too long for an AP essay. When you're writing on the exam, you want to keep your quotes really short, like a couple of words here and there, and use that text as a springboard. Remember, the readers have the text in front of them. They don't need to reread it in your handwriting. You got to really use the evidence well. Don't fill up space by quoting. And as you do, you can move across this rubric from left to right. You have that evidence, and then notice what it does. You explain how the evidence supports what you're arguing. You discuss various rhetorical choices and how it fits in. Great writers are showing their readers how it all comes together. That's what the evidence and commentary row is going to be about. We actually have a whole session on this. People are like, how do I integrate quotes into my essays? We're going to cover that. It's a vital skill. There's a certain finessing that you do. You don't just airdrop your quote in, because it's one of the first things we're going to try to fix in your writing if we're editing it. The last thing, and we're going to talk about this is kind of where we started, is sophistication. The people who invented these rubrics and the committee of professors and teachers who make the AP exams, they want people to write well. And so that's why they have a sophistication point. Notice what they consider great writing, great sophisticated writing, is that it's a great idea. That's the first bullet point. Sophisticated thought, notable awareness of this. There's a thorough analysis. So it's not just skating past the quotes. It's really taking the time to explain it. It talks about complexities or tensions. Great writing involves complex ideas. It doesn't give us simple answers to life's problems. And then crucially, just beautiful style. So you don't have to do all these things to earn the sophistication point of the rubric. But if you do any of these things well, the reader can say, yeah, this gets the sophistication point. And you know what's great is Heather Garcia, who's going to be leading, actually Heather Garcia and Tim Freitas are going to be in our session next week. We're both AP readers this past year. They were assigning the sophistication point. So they're going to tell you what pushed them over the edge, where they felt they had to give people that point. So when we look at this rubric, again, the analogy for history makes sense. This is a lot more like a history rubric now. You get 1 point for thesis. I hope you guys all earn that point. If you earn that point and you do a great job of developing your essay, you can earn up to 4 points for your evidence and commentary. And then as the icing on the cake, you can have an extra point for sophistication. So it is a much harder point to earn than the other ones. But one of the things Heather Garcia said to me when we spoke, she said, you know, I was surprised as I was assigning, because this is a new rubric that's from this year. I was surprised at what was qualifying for a thesis point or not. So we're in our sessions, guys, we're going to share with you those surprises, those secrets. And you'll know them now, and you'll be able to have them through the year. Okay, one other thing I wanted to point out. You know, so I had all my slides on great writing is this and great writing is that. And you guys in the chat put like 58 great definitions of what great writing is. I said that great writing involves hard work. It involves, as somebody said, and earlier it was methodical, right? Great writing is methodical. We have a method that we use for all of our essays. You'll see it on our YouTube channel. So again, when you go to, and I'll post that link again here in the chat. This is a subscription link to our channel. Definitely click on that, subscribe to our channel, because I'm going to be releasing another series on the argument essay soon. I think by Thanksgiving, we're going to have probably 80 videos on Lang and Lit on our channel that you can reference all year. We're going to do some live. In fact, we're doing a live event later this week with Tim Freitas on that channel. So definitely stay in touch. But one of the things we do throughout all those videos, this is the secret sauce. It's not that complicated. When you write an essay for an AP English exam, you're always going to do these 5 things in this order. You're always going to read the prompt. Once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. You're going to really obsess over what the prompt's asking so that you directly address it. As you're writing, go back, quick check. Am I actually in the prompt, or did I start writing off a cliff and doing my own thing? You're going to read the passage or passages, whatever they give you, you'll spend some time doing it. On the argument essays, Q3 on both exams, you'll be brainstorming here. Then you're going to write your thesis out. You do not want to start writing your essays on the AP exam thinking you might get around to writing a thesis. You want it there on the page first and ready to be planted right at the end of that first paragraph so that you guarantee that point. And as you're writing, you're not going to write just like making stuff up. Gather some quotes together. Get a loose structure. It doesn't have to be the most detailed outline in the world. We show you how to do that in the video. And the last one is write your essay. Actually physically write as much as you can in the 30 or so minutes you have. And Pam, it's great to see you, Pam, is saying we should have read and annotate the passage. Yes, we should correct that. Of course, on last year's exam, we couldn't annotate passages. They were on the computer. And actually this year's, I should say, for this year's exam, it may also be on a computer if it comes to them. So annotation might look different. Annotation was something that kind of took away from us a little bit. So people could print things out and it was a little bit confusing, but yeah, scribbling all over the prompt. When you look at my videos on YouTube, I'm writing on an iPad and I'm scribbling all this nasty handwriting all over everything because I'm using this process. I'm really interacting with, I'm trying to think through my pen as I'm writing.